The Galactic Council chamber floated in space like a massive crystal flower. Inside, representatives from 200 species sat in their designated places. Some breathed oxygen, others methane. Some had scales, others had fur, and a few were just clouds of organized energy. They all gathered here to make decisions that affected the entire galaxy. Ambassador Min-Jun Park stood at the center podium. He was human, tall and calm, wearing the simple blue uniform of Earth's diplomatic corps. His dark hair was touched with gray at the temples. He had kind eyes, but there was something else in them too, something patient and very old. "Honored Council," Min-Jun said, his voice steady. "Earth requests full membership after 200 years of probationary status. We have followed all protocols. We have contributed to galactic science, culture, and peace. We believe we have earned our place among you." The chamber filled with various sounds, clicks, whistles, harmonics. The translation devices turned it all into words everyone could understand. Most of the council members seemed supportive. They nodded or made their species equivalent gestures of approval. Then War Prince Zekthor stood up. He was Krath, a reptilian species that looked like someone had mixed a crocodile with a dragon and given it armor. He was 3 meters tall, covered in dark green scales, with yellow eyes that burned with ambition. The Krath were young compared to most council species. They had only been traveling between stars for 3,000 years. But in that short time, they had conquered 40 systems through military force. "This is ridiculous," Zekthor said, his voice like grinding stones. "Humans? Full members? Look at them. They are weak. They have been peaceful for centuries. They make art and music. They write poetry. They grow gardens." He said the last word like it was an insult. "The galaxy needs strength, not philosophers who are afraid to fight." Min-Jun did not react. He simply waited, his expression neutral. An ancient voice filled the chamber. It sounded like crystal bells singing, "War Prince Zekthor, you speak from ignorance." Everyone turned to look at Keeper Salthreen. The Vexthar Elder was 50,000 years old. Her body was made of living crystal that glowed with soft blue light. She rarely spoke at council meetings anymore. When she did, everyone listened. "I have studied humanity," Salthreen continued. "I have read their history. I have walked through their memories. There is a reason the old protocols list them among the sleeping giants." Zekthor laughed. It was not a pleasant sound. "The old protocols are ancient superstitions, written by species too afraid to take what they want." "They are warnings," Salthreen said. Her light pulsed brighter. "Written in the blood of species who learned too late. Humanity is not weak because they choose peace. They choose peace because they understand war better than you can imagine." Other elder species murmured agreement. The Tal Sharan, who had been spacefaring for 30,000 years, shared concerned looks. The Yormuch, ancient traders who had seen civilizations rise and fall, nodded their many heads. But Zekthor was young and ambitious. He saw the elders' caution as weakness. He saw an opportunity to prove the Krath Dominion's strength and take the power he believed his species deserved. "Prove it then," Zekthor said, turning to Min-Jun. "If humans are so strong, show us. Accept my challenge. Single combat, you and me, right here. If you win, I will support your membership. If I win, Earth withdraws its application forever." The chamber went silent. Every species watched to see what the human would do. Min-Jun looked at Zekthor for a long moment. Then he smiled. It was a sad smile. "No," he said simply. "See?" Zekthor spread his arms wide, addressing the entire council. "They are cowards. They hide behind words and history. The Krath Dominion challenges Earth's worthiness. We will test them properly." "Test them how?" asked Council Speaker Mirathas, a being of pure light who served as the council's neutral moderator. We will take one of their colonies, Zekthor announced. Just one, a small one. If they are truly strong, they will defend it. If they are weak, as I believe, they will surrender. Either way, we will have truth instead of ancient stories. The chamber erupted in chaos. Dozens of species began speaking at once. Taking another species' territory was against every galactic law. It had not happened in thousands of years. "This is illegal," Speaker Mirathus said. "Then stop me," Zekthor replied. He looked directly at Min Jun. "Or let the humans stop me, if they can." Sal Threen's crystal body blazed bright with urgency. "War Prince, I am begging you, do not do this. You do not understand what you are provoking." "I understand perfectly," Zekthor said. "I see weak prey pretending to be predators. The galaxy has gone soft. The Krath Dominion will remind everyone what strength really means. We choose the human colony New Jeju. It is a farming world. 2 million civilians. No military installations. It should be easy to take. Unless Earth wants to show us this hidden strength you claim they have." All eyes turned to Min Jun. The human ambassador stood very still. For just a moment, something flickered across his face, something cold and hard and infinitely sad. "We will not rise to provocation," Min Jun said quietly. "We will respond through proper legal channels. We will trust in the Council's justice." Zekthor laughed again. "Then New Jeju will fly Krath flags within the week, and the galaxy will see the truth about humanity." The War Prince turned and walked out of the chamber. His entire delegation followed him. Speaker Mirathas looked helpless. "Ambassador Park, we will convene an emergency session. We will issue sanctions. We will—" "You will do what you must," Min Jun interrupted gently. "And so will we." He bowed to the council and left the chamber. In the corridor outside, Keeper Salthreen caught up with him. Her crystal form hummed with distress. "Ambassador, I tried to warn him." "I know," Min Jun said. "Thank you for trying. What will Earth do?" Min Jun was quiet for a moment. He looked out through the station's massive windows at the stars beyond. "We have been at peace for 300 years, Keeper. We built museums for our weapons. We turned our warships into gardens. We taught our children that violence is always the last resort. But we never forgot how," Min Jun said softly. "We just hoped we would never need to remember." Salthreen's light dimmed with sorrow. "He has made a terrible mistake." "Yes," Min Jun agreed. "And now we all must live with the consequences." He walked away, heading to his ship. He had to get to Earth. There were protocols to follow. Ancient protocols that had not been activated in 3 centuries. Behind him, Keeper Salthreen whispered to the empty corridor, her voice full of ancient grief. They were warned. Why do the young never listen? New Jeju was beautiful. The colony world had green fields that stretched to the horizon. Rice paddies reflected the blue sky like mirrors. Orchards grew heavy with fruit. Small villages dotted the landscape, connected by clean roads and gentle rivers. 2 million people lived here. They were farmers, teachers, artists, and families. They had come from Earth to build a peaceful life among the stars. Nobody expected war to come to them. The Krath warships appeared without warning. 73 massive vessels dropped out of faster-than-light travel directly above New Jeju. Their weapons charged, their shields activated. They blocked all communications to and from the planet. War Prince Zekthor stood on the bridge of his flagship, looking down at the planet through the view screen. "Send the message," he ordered. A transmission blasted across all frequencies on New Jeju. Zekthor's face appeared on every screen, every device, every display. "Humans of New Jeju, I am War Prince Zekthor of the Krath Dominion. This world now belongs to us. You have 1 hour to surrender. Lay down any weapons. Gather in your village centers. Obey my soldiers when they land. If you resist, you will be destroyed. If you comply, you will be allowed to live as subjects of the Dominion. Choose wisely." The transmission ended. Zekthor smiled. He expected panic. He expected immediate surrender. These were farmers, after all. Soft civilians who knew nothing of war. What he got surprised him. On the surface, Colony Administrator HFY Moon stood in her office, staring at the now blank screen. She was 70 years old, grandmother to 6, and had been farming her entire life. She reached under her desk and pressed a button that had been installed 200 years ago. A button that every human colony had but hoped never to use. Red lights began flashing throughout New Jeju. A sound played. Not an alarm, but a simple tone. Every human recognized it instantly. They had all heard it in school, in drills, in historical simulations. It was the sound that said, "Protocol Omega, all hands, remember who you are." In the fields, farmers stopped their work. They looked at each other. Something changed in their eyes, something old waking up. In the schools, teachers calmly began following procedures they had practiced but never used. They moved children to designated safe locations, underground shelters that every colony building had. In the workshops, engineers started reconfiguring equipment. Heavy farming machinery could become other things. Mining explosives could be repurposed. 3D printers began producing different items than they had printed yesterday. HFY Moon opened her desk drawer and took out a data chip. Every colony administrator had one. It contained military protocols, defensive strategies, and command structures. She plugged it into her terminal and began reading. Within minutes, she understood what needed to be done. The Krath landed their troops. 10,000 soldiers in heavy armor, carrying powerful weapons. They expected to walk into villages full of frightened civilians waiting to be captured. Instead, they found empty villages. The civilians had vanished. When the Krath soldiers tried to search the buildings, farming drones attacked them from above. Irrigation pipes exploded, spraying corrosive fertilizer. Roads collapsed into hidden pits. The whole planet had transformed from peaceful farmland into hostile territory. In the Krath flagship, Zekthor watched the reports with growing confusion and anger. "They are farmers! Where did they learn to do this?" His intelligence officer hesitated before answering. "War Prince, I have been reviewing human history, all of it. The unsealed parts. It appears every human child learns military strategy as part of their standard education. They call it historical study. They have been doing this for centuries." "So what?" Zekthor snarled. "Knowing history is not the same as fighting a war." "War Prince, they do not just study it, they practice it. Every human colony has defense drills. Every human adult knows combat protocols. They never stop training. They just called it by different names." On Earth, Captain Hana Song stood in the Fleet Command Center, watching the same reports from New Jeju. She was 45 years old, had served in the peacekeeping forces her entire adult life, and had never fired a weapon in anger. Neither had anyone else in Earth's military. For 300 years, they had been explorers, scientists, and guardians, not warriors. But her grandmother had been a warrior, and her great-grandmother. And all the way back through history to times when humanity had nearly destroyed itself with war. The Earth Defense Council assembled in emergency session. 30 leaders representing every region of Earth appeared in hologram form around a circular table. "The Krath have attacked New Jeju," Council President Chen informed them. 2 million of our people are under assault. The Galactic Council is debating sanctions, but sanctions take time. Our people do not have time." "What are our options?" someone asked. Dr. James Cho stood up. He was a historian, elderly, with white hair and eyes that had seen too much. "We have one option," he said quietly. "The option we built this entire civilization to avoid. Protocol Omega." Silence filled the chamber. "If we activate Protocol Omega, President Chen said slowly. "We reveal everything. The galaxy will see what we really are." "They need to see," Dr. Cho replied. "The elders tried to warn the Krath. They did not listen. Now they must learn. And the galaxy must understand something about humanity. We did not become peaceful because we are weak. We became peaceful because we are strong, strong enough to choose peace. But that choice has a condition. We will never start a war, but we will finish one." "All in favor of activating Protocol Omega?" President Chen asked. Every hand rose, every one. President Chen turned to Captain Song. "Captain, you are now Fleet Commander Song. The 3rd Expeditionary Fleet is yours. Bring our people home." Hana Song saluted. "Yes, Madam President." Around Earth, things began to change. Museums opened their sealed sections. The warships displayed there, preserved perfectly for 300 years, began powering up. Orbital factories that produced art and consumer goods received new programming. Within hours, they started manufacturing weapons and military supplies. Retired military personnel received activation notices. People who had spent decades as teachers, artists, farmers, and scientists reported to mustering stations. They put on uniforms. They remembered training they had practiced every year but never used for real. The younger humans looked confused. The older ones looked sad. Everyone knew what was happening. The 300 years of perfect peace were ending, not because humanity wanted war, but because someone had forced their hand. In New Jeju, Ji-Hai Moon crawled through a tunnel with 20 other colonists. They reached an equipment cache. Inside were weapons and armor stored 200 years ago, maintained regularly, never used. She picked up a rifle. It felt familiar. They had all trained with them, just in case. "Do you think Earth will come?" a young man asked. He was scared. Ji-Hai smiled at him. "Earth always comes for its children. Always. The Krath made a mistake. They thought we forgot how to fight. We did not forget. We just hoped we would never have to remember." Above the planet, Zekthor was beginning to suspect he had made a terrible error. Fleet Commander Hana Song walked through the orbital shipyards above Earth. Around her, 47 warships floated in space. They looked ancient, but somehow beautiful. Sleek hulls covered in armor plating. Weapons systems that had been maintained for centuries but never fired. Ships with names like Indomitable, Defiant, Relentless, and Unconquered. These ships had been built 300 years ago during humanity's last war, a civil war that had almost destroyed them. When peace finally came, humanity made a choice. They would keep the ships, maintain them perfectly, preserve them as reminders, but they would never use them again. That promise had just ended. Hana boarded the Indomitable. The ship's artificial intelligence activated as she stepped onto the bridge. "Welcome, Commander. All systems are operational. Crew is boarding. We will be ready to depart in 6 hours." 6 hours. After 300 years of silence, these ships would fly again in just 6 hours. Her second-in-command, Commander David Martinez, approached. He was young, only 30. He had spent his entire career on research vessels. "Commander, the crew is anxious. Most of them have never been in combat." "Neither have I," Hana admitted. "Not real combat, but we have trained for it. Every year, every month. We practiced every strategy, every maneuver, every tactic from our history. We studied every battle humanity ever fought. We know what to do." "Knowing and doing are different things." "Yes," Hana agreed, "but we are still human. That means something." Across the galaxy, the Galactic Council watched in shock as Earth transformed. News broadcasts from Earth showed the changes happening in real time. Peaceful cities activating defense shields, civilian factories switching to military production, populations organizing with frightening efficiency. Dr. James Cho addressed the council via hologram. He stood in Earth's archives of reflection, surrounded by records that had been sealed for 3 centuries. Now the seals were broken. The secrets were visible to all. Honored Council, many of you have asked what Protocol Omega means. I will tell you. It means we stop pretending we forgot. He gestured to the walls around him. Holographic displays showed images from human history, battles, weapons, strategies, wars that had killed millions, technologies designed for nothing but destruction. 312 years ago, humanity nearly destroyed itself, Dr. Cho explained. We had developed weapons that could crack planets. We had biological agents that could sterilize worlds. We had artificial intelligence that could wage war faster than thought. And we used them. Against each other. We came within days of extinction. The council members watched in horror as the displays showed Earth's final war. Cities burning, populations fleeing, the planet itself wounded and dying. We survived, Dr. Cho continued. Barely. And in that survival, we learned something. We learned that intelligence without wisdom is suicide. We learned that power without restraint is destruction. We learned that being able to win a war does not mean you should fight one. He walked among the displays. So we made a choice. We would put away our weapons. We would become a peaceful species. We would contribute to the galaxy through science, art, and culture. We would be what we wished we had been during our darkest days. But you kept the weapons, said one council member, a Tal Sharon elder. You kept the knowledge. You kept the ships. Yes, Dr. Cho said. Because forgetting is not the same as learning. We kept everything. We taught our children about our violent past, not to glorify it, but to ensure they understood the cost. Every human child learns military strategy. Every human adult practices combat skills. Every colony maintains defenses. Not because we want war, because we never want to be helpless again. Keeper Salthrine's crystal form appeared in the council chamber. This is what I tried to explain to the Krath. Humanity is not peaceful because they are weak. They are peaceful because they chose to be, knowing full well what the alternative means. A warrior who chooses peace is far more dangerous than a warrior who only knows war. On New Jeju, the situation had become desperate for the Krath forces. What should have been a simple occupation had turned into a nightmare. The colonists fought with a coordination that seemed impossible for civilians. They used tactics that Krath intelligence could not predict. They turned every piece of farming equipment into a weapon. They knew the terrain perfectly and used it against the invaders. Sungmin Kang led a group of 40 colonists through underground tunnels beneath his rice fields. He was 60 years old, had been farming for 4 decades, and had never hurt anyone in his life. Until now. The Krath patrol will pass above us in 3 minutes, he whispered. We hit them fast, take their weapons and supplies, then disappear. Remember, these are the tactics from the guerrilla campaigns of 2089. We studied them in school. They work. A young woman named Sarah Kim looked nervous. Sungmin, how do we know this will work? Those campaigns were hundreds of years ago against human opponents. The principles do not change, Sungmin replied. Superior numbers mean nothing if you do not know where your enemy is. Advanced weapons mean nothing if you cannot use them effectively. The Krath expected farmers. They got humans. That was their mistake. The ambush went perfectly. The Krath patrol was captured without a single shot fired. Sungmin's group faded back into the tunnels like ghosts. In orbit, War Prince Zekthor reviewed increasingly disturbing reports. His ground forces were pinned down. His troops were demoralized. The humans fought in ways his soldiers had never encountered. Worse, his intelligence division had finally accessed humanity's complete military history. War Prince, his chief intelligence officer said, voice trembling. You need to see this. The displays showed battle after battle from human history. The siege of Stalingrad, the D-Day invasion, the Battle of Midway, the siege of Vienna, the defense of Moscow, hundreds of conflicts spanning thousands of years. Humans fighting humans with terrible creativity and absolute determination. They fought each other like this for millennia, the officer explained. They developed strategy as an art form. They wrote books about warfare that are still studied. Every type of combat, every kind of terrain, every possible scenario. They documented it all, learned from it all. And they never forgot it. Zekthor felt something he had not felt in years. Fear. How many warships does Earth have? Our sources indicate 47 capital ships. But War Prince, these are not new ships. They are 300 years old. Then we still have superior numbers, 73 ships against 47. War Prince, I do not think age matters. These ships were built during humanity's most violent era. They are designed by a species that perfected warfare, and they are crewed by humans who have studied every naval battle in their history. When will they arrive? Our sensors detect a fleet approaching, estimated arrival in 4 hours. Zekthor looked at the peaceful planet below. It had seemed so easy. Take one farming colony, prove human weakness, show the galaxy that the Krath Dominion was strong. Now he understood what the elders had tried to tell him. Humanity was not weak. They had just been kind enough to pretend to be, hoping no one would test them. Someone had tested them. Far above New Jeju, space rippled. One by one, 47 human warships dropped out of faster-than-light travel. They formed a perfect battle formation, moving with practiced precision. On the bridge of the Indomitable, Fleet Commander Hana Song looked at the Krath fleet ahead of her. She felt no hatred, no rage, only a deep sadness that it had come to this. All ships, this is Commander Song. Broadcast our message. A transmission went out to the Krath fleet, to New Jeju below, and to the entire galaxy watching this confrontation. This is Fleet Commander Hana Song of Earth's 3rd Expeditionary Fleet, War Prince Zekthor. You have attacked our people without cause. You have violated galactic law. You were warned. The elders told you. You chose not to listen. We are here now to end this. Surrender immediately, and your forces will be treated with honor. Refuse, and we will show you what humanity becomes when we remember who we used to be. The message ended. The two fleets faced each other in the darkness of space. Humanity's ancient warships against the Krath Dominion's modern fleet. The galaxy held its breath. War Prince Zekthor stared at the human fleet on his view screen. 47 ships against his 73. The numbers were in his favor. His ships were newer, built with modern technology. The human ships were 300 years old, museum pieces brought back to life. He should have the advantage. He tried to believe that. All ships. Battle formation, Zekthor commanded. Prepare to engage. Show these humans what real power looks like. The Krath fleet moved into standard attack positions. They had used this formation to conquer 40 systems. It had never failed them. On the Indomitable, Fleet Commander Hana Song watched the Krath deployment with calm eyes. Tactical. Analysis? Her tactical officer, Lieutenant Park Ji-woo, studied the displays. They are using Formation 7 Alpha, Commander. It is effective against opponents who fight conventionally. Heavy firepower concentrated in the center, wings to envelope and surround. Recommendation? Pattern Midway 4. Ji-woo replied without hesitation. It was developed to counter numerically superior forces using predictable tactics. We bait the center, collapse the wings, divide their fleet into sections they cannot support. Hana smiled sadly. Midway 4 was based on a naval battle from 2042. Almost 1,000 years ago, human commanders had used similar tactics against a larger enemy fleet. The entire engagement had been studied, analyzed, and perfected over centuries. All ships, execute Pattern Midway 4. Authorization Song 77 Alpha. The human fleet split into 3 groups. The center group, led by Indomitable, moved forward. It looked like a frontal assault, exactly what the Krath expected. Zekthor saw the human center advance. Fools! They attack our strength directly. All forward batteries, concentrate fire. Destroy their flagship. The Krath fleet opened fire. Energy weapons lit up space. Missiles streaked across the void. Explosions bloomed against the human shields. But the human ships did not stop. They came forward, taking hits, shields flaring, and they did something the Krath did not expect. They fired back with perfect precision, not at the Krath ships, at the space between them. "What are they doing?" Zekthor demanded. "They are missing us completely." "War Prince," his science officer said, voice shaking. "They are not missing. They are targeting our formation cohesion. They are firing at the gravitational and electromagnetic interference points. They are creating zones of disruption that prevent our ships from supporting each other." It was true. The space between the Krath ships became filled with energy disruptions, sensor interference, and gravitational anomalies. Ships lost sight of each other. Communication became difficult. The perfect formation began to break apart. And then the human wings struck. From above and below, the other two groups of human ships attacked. They moved with impossible coordination, striking at the exact weak points the center group had created. The Krath fleet found itself cut into isolated sections, each group unable to help the others. The battle that Zekthor thought would take hours lasted only 6. Human ships moved through the Krath fleet like surgeons with scalpels. Every shot was precise. Every maneuver was calculated. They did not waste ammunition. They did not make mistakes. They fought with the efficiency of a species that had studied warfare for thousands of years and never forgotten a single lesson. But they did not destroy. That was what shocked the Krath the most. The human weapons targeted engines, weapons systems, and shields. They disabled rather than destroyed. They took away the Krath ability to fight without taking away their lives. "They are showing mercy," Zekthor's second-in-command said, stunned. "Even now, in the middle of battle, they are trying not to kill us." Zekthor watched his fleet fall apart around him. Ship after ship went dark, weapons offline, dead in space but crews alive. The humans moved through them like water around stones, unstoppable and patient. "We surrender," Zekthor finally said. The words tasted like ash. "All ships cease fire. We surrender." The human fleet stopped shooting immediately. Not a single additional shot was fired after the surrender. They simply surrounded the disabled Krath vessels and waited. Commander Song's voice came over the communication channel. "War Prince Zekthor, stand down your remaining systems. Medical ships are coming to help any wounded. You and your crews will be treated according to galactic law. This war is over." On New Jeju's surface, the Krath ground forces had been watching the battle in the sky. When their fleet surrendered, they knew they had no chance. The resistance fighters had them surrounded. Human Marines had just landed. Escape was impossible. Commander Rathkor, the senior Krath officer on the ground, made the decision. He walked out of his command post, alone and unarmed. In the street outside, Sungmin Kang waited with 40 colonists. They held weapons but did not point them at him. "I wish to surrender my forces," Rathkor said. "We will not fight further." Sung Min studied the Krath commander. He saw no arrogance now, only exhaustion and shame. "You attacked our homes. You killed our people. We have every right to hate you." "Yes," Rathkor agreed. "We do not deserve mercy." "No, you do not," Sung Min said, "but we will give it anyway, because that is what we choose to be. War Prince Zekthor did not understand that about us. We hope you will." He gestured for the Krath soldiers to come forward. They did, laying down their weapons. They were not harmed. Human medics treated their wounded. They were given food and water. They were prisoners, but they were prisoners treated with dignity. Above the planet, in the Indomitable's conference room, War Prince Zekthor stood before Commander Song. He was in restraints, his armor removed, his pride shattered. Around him, holographic displays showed the aftermath of the battle, his entire fleet disabled, his invasion force captured. His grand plan to prove Krath's superiority destroyed in 6 hours. "Why?" he asked. "You could have destroyed us, every ship, every soldier. Why did you not?" Hana looked at him with those calm, sad eyes. "Because destruction is easy. Any species can kill. We learned that lesson well. We learned it so well that we nearly destroyed ourselves. The hard choice is mercy. The hard choice is restraint. The hard choice is being strong enough to win, but wise enough to show kindness even to our enemies. Your people should hate us. We attacked you." "Some do hate you," Hana admitted. "They have that right. But hatred is also a choice, and we try to choose better. Always." She stood and walked to the window, looking out at the stars. "War Prince, you thought we were weak because we were peaceful. You made the same mistake many species have made throughout history. You confused kindness with weakness. You confused patience with inability. You confused our choice not to fight with not knowing how to fight." She turned back to him. "We know how to fight, War Prince. We have always known. We are very, very good at it. That is exactly why we choose not to. The most dangerous warriors are not those who love war. The most dangerous warriors are those who understand war completely and choose peace anyway. When you force them to fight, they fight with the weight of that broken choice behind them. They fight to end the war as quickly as possible. They fight to ensure it never happens again." Zekthor lowered his head. "The elders tried to warn me." "Yes, they did. Now you understand what they were warning you about. Not about humanity's past, about what we become when you force us to remember it." Outside, human ships began the process of securing the system. Medical teams helped wounded Krath. Engineers worked to repair damaged ships enough to get them back to Krath space. The colonists of New Jeju returned to their homes, already beginning to rebuild what had been damaged. And across the galaxy, thousands of species watched the footage and finally understood what the old protocols had been trying to say. Humanity was not a sleeping giant. They were an awake giant choosing to kneel so they did not frighten others. But they could stand up any time they chose, and when they did stand, they were tall indeed. 6 weeks after the battle, the Galactic Council met again. The chamber felt different now. The same species sat in the same seats, but everything had changed. They looked at the human delegation with new eyes, eyes that held respect, caution, and understanding. Ambassador Minjun Park stood at the center podium again, just as he had 2 months ago. But now, no one questioned whether humanity deserved full membership. The vote was unanimous. Every single species voted in favor. "Earth is now a full member of the Galactic Council," Speaker Mirathos announced, "with all rights and responsibilities that status carries." There was no celebration, only quiet acknowledgement. Everyone understood what it meant. Humanity had proven themselves, not just as warriors, but as something more complex, something harder to define. War Prince Zekthor was not present. He was on Earth, awaiting trial for violation of galactic law. His second-in-command, Commander Rathkor, had returned to Krath space. The Krath Dominion's government had fallen. A new council had taken power, one that promised reform and peaceful expansion. The defeat had shaken the Krath to their core. The galaxy had watched everything. The battle footage, the mercy shown to defeated enemies, the care given to captured soldiers, the quick return of Krath prisoners once the situation was stable. Humanity had not sought revenge. They had not taken territory. They had not demanded reparations beyond payment for damages. They had simply stopped the war and gone back to being peaceful. That confused many species more than the battle itself. "Ambassador Park," said Elder Talmor of the Tal Sharan, "on behalf of the elder species, I wish to apologize. We warned the Krath, but we should have done more to prevent this conflict." Minjun shook his head. "Elder Talmor, You did what you could. Some lessons can only be learned through experience. The Krath have learned. The galaxy has learned. Perhaps that was necessary. And what did the galaxy learn? Asked Council Speaker Mirathas. That peace is a choice, Minjun replied, not a weakness. That strength without wisdom is dangerous. That the most powerful beings are those who choose restraint. These are lessons humanity learned the hard way. We nearly destroyed ourselves learning them. If our experience can teach others without them having to suffer as we did, then perhaps some good came from our violent past. Keeper Sal Threen's crystal form glowed warmly. Ambassador, humanity has proposed something new to the Council, the Galactic Peace Accord. Will you explain? Minjun activated a holographic display. It showed a detailed treaty framework. For thousands of years, the galaxy has maintained peace through the wisdom of elder species, and the respect younger species show them. This has worked well, but as we have seen, not all young species respect the elders' warnings, so we propose something additional. The display showed a network connecting multiple star systems. The Galactic Peace Accord would be a mutual defense treaty. Any species that signs agrees to several things. First, they commit to peaceful expansion and diplomatic resolution of conflicts. Second, they agree to defend any other signatory that is attacked without cause. Third, they share defensive technology and strategic knowledge to ensure all members can protect themselves. And humanity will share its military knowledge? Someone asked, skeptical. Yes, Minjun said. Not weapons, not methods of attack, but defense, strategy, tactics, how to protect yourselves, how to organize resistance, how to coordinate defenses. We will share what we know, so that no peaceful species ever has to face aggression helpless. The chamber filled with discussion. The implications were enormous. Humanity was offering to make the entire galaxy more capable of warfare, but only defensive warfare. They were teaching others how to be strong so they could choose peace from a position of strength. Why would you do this? Asked a representative from a species that had been spacefaring for only 500 years. Why make others as strong as you? Minjun smiled. Because strong neighbors who choose peace make better friends than weak neighbors who fear war. Because we do not want an empire, we want a community. Because the only way to truly end the cycle of conquest is to make conquest impossible. If everyone can defend themselves, no one can be easily attacked. And if no one can be easily attacked, everyone must choose diplomacy. 27 species signed the Galactic Peace Accord that day. More would sign in the weeks and months to come. A new era was beginning, one where peace was not just the wisdom of the old, but the shared commitment of the strong. On New Jeju, life had returned to normal. The fields were green again, the villages were rebuilt, the scars of war were healing. Sung Min Kang stood in his rice paddy, hands in the soil, doing what he loved. Farming. A shuttle landed near his field. Fleet Commander Hana Song stepped out. She was no longer in uniform. The crisis was over. The 3rd Expeditionary Fleet had been deactivated again. The ships were returning to their museums. The weapons were being stored away. Humanity was choosing peace again. Commander Song, Sung Min greeted her. Or should I say former Commander Song? Just Hana now, she said, smiling. I came to see how New Jeju was recovering. They walked through the fields together. The rice plants swayed in the gentle wind. We lost 143 people, Sung Min said quietly. 143 who will never come home. Children who will never see their parents again. Parents who will never see their children. All because someone decided to test us. I know, Hana said. I am sorry. I wish we could have stopped it before anyone died. Do you think we did the right thing? Showing mercy to the Krath? Hana was quiet for a moment. I think we did the human thing. We remembered who we are, Not just warriors, not just peaceful farmers. Both, always both. The warrior and the gardener in every one of us. The capacity for violence and the choice for kindness. Sung Min nodded. My children asked me why we fought. I told them we fought so they would not have to, but I also told them that if they ever need to fight someday, they will know how, and they will know when, and they will know why. That is all we can do, Hana agreed. Remember our history, understand our capabilities, but always, always choose peace first. They stood together in the quiet field. Two humans who had been forced to become warriors, now gratefully returning to being what they preferred. One a commander returning to scientific research. One a farmer who had led resistance fighters. Both carrying the weight of what they had done, but also the pride of how they had done it. In the Galactic Archives, Dr. James Cho made one final entry into humanity's record. It would be accessible to all species, a permanent part of galactic history. To those who read this in the future, he wrote, know that humanity came to the stars carrying the weight of our violent past. We could have hidden it. We could have pretended it never happened. Instead, we chose to remember. We chose to teach our children about our worst days so they would never repeat them. We chose to maintain our capacity for war so we would never be helpless, but also chose to use that capacity only as a last resort. The Krath Dominion learned what happens when you provoke the humanity. But that is not the important lesson. The important lesson is what happened after. We won the war in 6 hours, but we spent 6 weeks helping our defeated enemy. We could have destroyed them. We chose to teach them instead. This is what it means to be human. We are neither saints nor monsters. We are both warrior and peacemaker, destroyer and creator. We contain multitudes, and we choose every day which part of ourselves we will be. The elders warned, never provoke the humanity. But there is a second warning, equally important. Never force them to become what they used to be. Because when you do, you remind them of what they are capable of. And what they are capable of is both terrible and beautiful. They can end a war in hours, and then spend decades healing the wounds that war created. That is humanity. That has always been humanity. That will always be humanity. On Earth, in a classroom, a teacher stood before students who were learning about the new Jeju incident. It was already being called that. Not a war. An incident. Something that happened and was resolved and would be remembered, so it never happened again. Why did we fight? A student asked. The teacher smiled. Because we had to. Because our people needed us. Because someone forced us to. And why did we stop fighting? Because we could. Because the war was over. Because peace is always the goal, never the war itself. Will we have to fight again someday? The teacher looked out the window at the blue sky, at the peaceful world that had built itself on the ashes of terrible wars. I hope not, she said honestly. But if we do, we will remember who we are, not monsters who learn to be kind, but kind beings who remember how to be monsters when we must. The difference matters. The student thought about that, then nodded, understanding. Across the galaxy, in thousands of systems, in millions of schools, the same lessons were being taught, about strength and restraint, about power and responsibility, about the choice to be peaceful when you could choose to be violent. The elders had warned, never provoke the humanity. Now everyone understood why, not because humans were uniquely violent, but because they were uniquely capable of choosing peace while remembering war. And that combination, that balance, that choice, made them something the galaxy had rarely seen. Dangerous protectors, peaceful warriors, gardeners who never forgot how to hold a sword. Humanity,